podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network, kingofpodcasts.com.
Just in time for cuffing season. Boyfriends are cringe.
We're all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the King of Podcasts.
Thank you for being on listening to Depraved and Debaucherous, the program that I am still amazed that I have such a wonderful, lively, engaging audience out there. I appreciate each and every one of you for listening to this program each and every week, wherever you find the show, especially for those of you on Spotify. For those of you that find me on Spotify, I love your comments and I love to go and hear from you. So if you are so inclined or obligated to, feel free to always reach out to me on the Spotify feed and comment on any episodes that I have there, or comment on the YouTube channel, or reach out to me on my website, kingofpodcasts.com. There's a contact form there. You're welcome to go and reach out to me on any of those platforms at any time about any of the past episodes. Okay? It's just a wonderful thing to do. I know I have more people talk about the tattoo video that I have put out years ago, and I continue to bring up, and I get more comments about that. So I will get to that point and revisit that story pretty soon. But a good story came out this week that I had to get into, and that is a story from Vogue. And a writer writing a story that caught my attention is having a boyfriend embarrassing now. Chantayy Jayy is the writer, and she first of all put out a TikTok video to preview what this was all about. So let's get into that.
For British Vogue, I wrote, "This piece is having a boyfriend embarrassing now." I know people have been the headline, they're like, nah, nah, nah. But listen, for this piece, I interviewed a bunch of women. I spoke to them about why they hide their partners on social media, or they post very inconspicuously about them. Some people said it was about privacy and this sort of unique, special privacy that you only afford your romantic partner. A lot of people spoke about the evil eye and this idea that, if I post my partner, then people who are jealous of me will somehow, through their terrible vibes, ruin my relationship. Some people said that they felt as if they were scared to post because what happens when someone comes to them as a woman, or what happens when they break up and they have to, delete all the posts. And there's this whole feeling of shame of having tried and failed to find love. And then there was a really interesting point that came across both people in relationships and single people. And this idea that being in a relationship with a man and showcasing it to the world in and of itself was an embarrassing thing to do. And
now we can see that in the pop culture today. When we look right now at Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, you see the difference between those stars, Madison Beer and Justin Herbert, now these days when it comes to the NFL stars and their pop starlets, right? Things like that. But now the thing is this. The embarrassment, it doesn't necessarily need to be from the woman that is finding a boyfriend and finding love, especially this time of year. Now, we'll get to the part if cuffing season has anything to do with it, because it is that time of year. And I always warn you, just around September time, right around the fall equinox, when that always happens, because that's something that's going to come up. And I'm just making you aware. I'm just being cognizant of what's going on. Those kind of things will happen. Now, in the story that Chantayy writes here, first of all, social media is going to say whatever they're going to say. Social media is a bastion, a wasteland of people that do not want to see you succeed, do not want to see you happy. People are dystopian in social media in many different points, which is why I only use it really for promotional purposes, because if I had to go and believe or listen to everybody I listen to on social media gaslighting me or manipulating me or making me think that the world is so bad, then, I would be in a really sad place if I really believe what they said. The bottom line is, it's like if somebody tells you, how high, if you want to go ahead and jump off a cliff, you say how high. You don't want to do that. So they made a point here about a Substack called Boyfriend Land, where women's online identities are centered around the lives of their partners. Women rewarded for their ability to find and keep a man with elevated social status and praise. And she says there's been a pronounced shift in the way people showcase relationships online. Far from fully hard launching romantic partners, straight women are opting for subtle signs. A hand on the steering wheel, clinking glasses at dinner, or the back of someone's head. Right. Don't even show who it is. Because you know what? If you add yourself into social media and decide to showcase who you're with, doesn't work. Celebrities, much easier to go and do that because they're, open to ridicule. If they want to go put that out there for themselves, they can do that too. But it is quite interesting that even now, I don't see a lot of women that I would normally see when I do my Uber driving, when I do it part-time. One of the biggest things I would get every year was, especially here in South Florida, I'd always get a bachelorette party or I'd get a party of people going to a wedding and they're all dressed up, ready to go. So they'd go to the polo grounds. They'd go to some big ranch in some big country looking area out in Jupiter Farms, or I'd have to go and take people to a church or go to a, big ballroom, whatever it was. Those kind of things used to happen all the time. Or I'd have a bachelorette party. You could tell they were out going to the club, going to bars, or going to wherever they're going to go to hang out, have fun, get to a restaurant, or take them back from said restaurant or club or bar, whatever it was. But that's the part that's very interesting. I don't see a lot of that. There were not any weddings that I was taking anybody to as well. Any couples freshly married here. That used to be a normal thing now, and I'm telling you, this year did not happen. To get to this point right now, the tourist season that is in South Florida, I haven't seen any of it. And not a lot of where I see a lot of couples that are out there just kind of showcasing themselves. Of course, you still see it, but you can still see the people that are you can kind of tell that even people that are in fresh in relationships, they're not being seen out in public, and you're not seeing, I don't see that many first dates out there flat out. Not as much as I used to. But I think the importance of keeping social media away from having anyone go ahead and look at what you're doing, if you want to talk about who you're with and not showcase them, probably better off. Because you already are tinkering with social media with the fact that if you are getting together with somebody and then you're saying, you look at what other people are looking at. I mean, put it like this. If I had to try to have a girlfriend now, I could, but I don't because it's so hard today. And also it's so hard to go and find somebody that is in there for love and not for transactional privileges. Something of benefit to them out of this. And it's not even love. It's more than that. It's got to be some kind of transactional kind of feel to it. No. But I got to imagine that I look at women that I see on TikTok and I think, well, they're so approachable. And there's all these young, beautiful women, amazing looking. And it tells me, man, these are the women that I used to think were always at the club, always at the bar, always out, that I would never see out and about. Or they were absolutely taken. But now it's a matter of that guys know we have a lot more single women available. Let's make that clear too. More than ever, you have a lot more single women to choose from. It's just harder to get them to commit or to pin them down to be with and to know that they're going to be somebody that you want to be with in the first place. But that's the biggest crux here. And I don't know if I like it now where there are a lot of single women available, but you know what you have to get into to even try to get into a relationship with them because of what is out there. I don't know. Do I want it like it was in the past or I want it like it is now? That's a very tough decision. Very tough.
I saw this girl make a video and she was like, isn't it kind of funny? I feel like having a boyfriend now is lame and shameful. And she was like, I feel like it used to be really cool, but now it's you meet a girl and you're like, oh, you'd be cooler if you didn't have a boyfriend. Yeah. And I was like, I really do feel that way. When I meet a girl and she doesn't have a boyfriend, I am like, oh, yeah, that's cunt. You're cool. I like that. You know what
And that's the worst thing to even hear. You don't want a woman to feel like she needs to approve who you're with. Remember, guys, keep this in mind. And women, I hope you understand this, that you might have women that are friends of yours for a long time, but there is some kind of animosity if you are doing a little bit better than them. Okay? When you have women that are with each other in a pack, I see it all the time too, that I know it because of the fact that I used to have that problem where I would try to get with a girl and I met her at a club. I can't tell you how many times that happened, where one particular time I went to Monkey Club and I remember going in and there was a girl I was dancing with, or was it Liquid? Excuse me. It was Club Liquid. Okay. Clematis Street, downtown West Palm Beach. And this girl has a boyfriend with her or some guy she's with hanging along with, but this other girl is the third wheel and just hanging out. And she's, been drinking a little bit, but we were dancing. And then little bit later on, she's following along with me as we're going out. And I didn't have anybody else with me that night. So I have her by the hand and we're walking out the door. And of course, what happens? This girl, her friend, says, pulls the friend back in and leaves me out there hanging dry. And even when she has somebody else of her own, she didn't want to see her best friend or her friend see her with me or with any guy for that matter. She did not want to go and leave him alone. I don't know if it was something about the fact that what I was going to do with her. I don't know. We were going out. It's the middle of public, Clematis Street, thousands of people along the strip. It's on a Friday, Saturday night. And in the early 2000s, everybody was out there. Like you had crowded streets out there. Who knows what we would have done? All I know is I wanted to hang out with her. She was cute. We were having fun. We kissed. And then I'm walking with her outside and I'm like, okay, we're chilling. We're chilling out. And then this girl just literally grabs her by the arm, yanks her right back in. Just like that. Still, it bothers me today. It's still crystal clear in my mind. And trust me, there's a lot of things in my past I don't really think about and go back to. But there we go. So this girl right here, this particular podcast that she's bringing up, where she says that this whole idea was that if a girl is seen as single, of course they like her. But if she's got a boyfriend, they don't like her so much. So women are encouraging modern independent women to stay modern independent women. But that's just like for approval for them. But that doesn't say anything for the girl who says, well, who knows? Maybe I want to have a life. Maybe I want to have kids. Maybe I want to have a relationship. Maybe I want to have love. Like it should not be where that girl feels like, oh, that I need to get approval by these girls. They could drop you like a hat. So there was the Delusional Diaries podcast. And then there's comments on the Instagram post on here where they said like, boyfriends are out of style. They won't come back in until they start acting right. Another one says having a boyfriend typically takes hits on a woman's aura. And by the way, the hosts of this program have partners. And even partner women will lament men and heterosexuality, partly in solidarity with other women, but also because it is now fundamentally uncool to be a boyfriend girl. A boyfriend girl. No, girlfriend. Girlfriend. Why is this so problem for a woman to be with a guy? One of the hardest things I had to go and worry about, and I was always caught up over, was the fact that if I wanted to talk to a girl and she was with a boyfriend, well, that she was off limits. And I didn't try to go and pursue anything with her because once I found out, okay, good. Off my list, fine. And I used to feel something about the fact that I'd feel jealous for the guys that had the girls. I'm like, why can't I have one? Until I started realizing, how much drama and stress that a lot of these guys I was thinking about, what they had to go through to be with the girls they're with and what they had to go ahead and tolerate to be in a relationship because it does take work. I can see that. I've seen it. I've talked about it. I've seen friends of mine that have gone through it. It's a lot. But the thing is that now, even though I know women are probably not with boyfriends right now, it's like, I don't want single women to not have boyfriends. I don't want, or girlfriends, whatever. I don't want single women to stay single. That's a problem. It's an epidemic. I feel bad for women that are single. I wish they weren't. I wish they could find love. And I wish they weren't hurt or going through the things that being modern and independent come with, that they're done that way because of the fact of what has gone through with them in their time, even trying to be in relationships for whatever reason. What was it that caused them to stay single? Because it's a choice, but also is that choice being done because a woman could really find real happiness being alone? I don't know if I really buy into that. So she talks to a couple different people, Chantayy Joseph, here in this article about their hard launching with boyfriends. And one, Sophie Milner, a content creator, says that this summer a boy took me to Sicily. I posted about it on my subscriber section, and people replied like, please don't get a boyfriend. And many of their content perhaps becomes less exciting when she's in a relationship. Quote, being single gives you this ultimate freedom to say and do what you want. It is absolutely not every woman, but I do notice that we can become more beige and watered down when online in a relationship, myself included. Yes, because you are going to change. You're going to bring yourself out of that whole like girl boss kind of adventure freewheeling attitude, because you're going to settle a little bit because you're finding yourself in a comfort zone with a guy or a gal that you're with. It's like now women are acting like the guys. Oh, so if somebody that we like, we have a crush on, has a boyfriend, then we're like, okay, we're turned off by it. It's the same thing with the girls now. It's like reverse. What is that all about? That doesn't make any sense. Now, in her conversations, Chantayy says that the script is shifting. Being partnered doesn't affirm your womanhood anymore. It is no longer considered an achievement, and if anything, it's become more of a flex to pronounce yourself single. And she's referring to straight women, saying that we're confronting something that every other sexuality has had to contend with, a politicization of our identity. Heterosexuality has long been purposefully indefinable. So it is harder for those within it and outside of it to critique. But traditional roles are continuing to crumble, and maybe we're being forced to reevaluate our blind allegiance to heterosexuality. And I think part of the thing that we got to talk about too is that, okay, so these women that don't want to have women to have boyfriends, so who are they fucking? Who are they having sex with? Should they just go and just randomly go around? I think that would get tired after a while. Unless they're just getting something from it and they just don't care. But I mean, that's the part too. I think women that get to be in a long-lasting relationship, in a healthy relationship, let me make that clear. Because what I also don't want, I don't want to go and see women that are with boyfriends that are absolutely not good for them. Let's make that clear too. Part of the reason we have so many single women too is because of all the problems that men have right now being proper to be boyfriends. And we're not talking about misogyny and all this stuff. No. I have no problem with the whole alpha mindset, guys to get their money on, get their business on, get their success on, get themselves in good shape, be the best version of themselves. Absolutely. Self-improvement, maintenance, absolutely. I agree with all that. But the other part is that younger guys I keep seeing all the time, I don't see them out with a girlfriend and hanging out. If you do, it's also like the hard launch as well. It's like you have to go out and be seen. It's interesting. I would wonder how it is now in high school for guys and gals to get together. And, social media is being so hyper local and then so critical. You have to hard launch if you're going to be seen out there. Imagine if you tried to keep that under wraps or try to go and hard launch in high school now. The pressure must be ridiculous now. Even for like the high school cheerleader and the, Johnny football guy, it's like Not a Surfing Popular, that song, which I'm surprised that song never got viral, but again, but maybe it should. She goes on to say here, Chantayy Jayy, that there's no shame in falling in love, but there's also no shame in trying and failing to find it or not trying at all. And as long as we're openly rethinking and criticizing heteronormativity, having a boyfriend will remain having somewhat fragile or even contentious concept within public life. So the idea of a woman that could stay single forever, become a spinster with loads of cats, be that auntie, it's now becoming a desirable and coveted status, another nail in the coffin of a centuries-old heterosexual fairy tale that never really benefited women to begin with. Okay, all right. Let me go back to Chantayy and some of more of her comments here on this story.
Feel as inspired or engaged by her, and then when someone doesn't, I feel like they have so much life and prospect and they are just entertaining and fun, and I kind of feel empowered by their individualism. But interestingly, the girls talking about this on the podcast, agreeing with this idea that like girls without boyfriends are cool, are also in relationships themselves. And so I was thinking so much about how it is very uncool to be a boyfriend girl. It is very uncool to be a my man person. And I spoke to both just people who are on social, but also content creators and influencers about what happens when they post their partners, right? A lot of them lose a lot of followers, especially if they were already single. And this idea that now you are someone's girlfriend and you're posting about this is something that people automatically disengage from. I do it.
Now, I'll tell you this too. If you are a girl that is just talking about my man, this, okay, there is something to be said about, like, you got to have a life. Because even if you are through the honeymoon period in a relationship, yeah, you got to have some time for others, for other things and for yourself. Because your life cannot be circling around 24/7 around this guy. Because if he's gone, the void is going to be a mess. So that's the other part you got to worry about too. And I think that's something that's got to be importantly discussed, focused on. But it's like, for women to have healthy relationships, they're getting so much bad advice from women in the first place. Make that clear. What this delusional podcast right here that we just talked about before, let me get that name one more time. The Delusional Diaries podcast, Haley and Jazz. Don't listen to them. I don't care how many likes they get. Listen, for some women that are going to listen to this podcast with women that are hosting the show that have their own partners, okay? They're in love individually and with their own relationships. So why are you listening to them? They are just out there to go ahead and take the dirty laundry and also play into the bitterness and anger and vitriol of women that are single, modern, independent, and not happy, okay? They're playing into all that. That is gaslighting at the highest level. I'm sorry, it is. So why are you listening to them? If women don't realize that healthy relationships are a good thing, and it doesn't mean you're going to be held down. Women have the control in a relationship. Don't you understand that? We worship women. We praise, we love women. So if you're with the right guy, he's going to do whatever it takes to be with you. So if it is, okay, this girl wants to go to Sicily, this one wants to go jet setting. If that's what they want, and the guy wants to go and accommodate it because he loves her, yeah, he'll do it. That's okay. If the guy wants to do it, fine. But reciprocate. Make sure that you also are making him feel like he is deserving of you, but at the same time, you show him he's worthy, and you reciprocate to him. You make him feel loved. You show him lots of affection. Women, it's not that hard for you to find a man, and it's also not that hard for you to go ahead and keep a man. Because guys right now, we'll take anything. But then again, we're also not going to go ahead and take it for granted anymore by like, okay, we know that women are out there that might be just looking for something for themselves, or it might be selfish because they want to keep that modern, independent lifestyle, and they don't want a man to go and get involved in it. I mean, there's something about that. The fact that there would be women that don't want to go ahead and let anybody know that they're with boyfriends or just relationships in general. And I wonder, is it the same thing with girlfriends? Like if you're hard launching with a girlfriend, is there a problem with that too? I don't know. I'd like to go figure out if that has something else that's like the same kind of issue that goes on, whether it's gay or straight. I'd love to go and know that. And there was another story they brought up in here that also came into this part about heterofatalism. And I thought this would be interesting to go and go along with here. And, you know, one of those things where I have to go and get past the paywall here to get to the article. But, of course, I'm going to do that. The trouble with wanting men. New York Times Magazine writing about how women are so fed up with dating men. There's the phenomenon of heterofatalism. So they go on and say here in the story, this writer says that one of the reasons my marriage ended was I fell in love with another man, and spontaneously graceful with a soft voice and an inordinate sad-eyed smile, this new guy made her laugh, stopped her breath. Being a good guy, he intimated from the jump that he did not know how to do relationships, giving me to understand that if I expected one with him, I did so at my peril. Still, he pursued me. We seemed to be doing something together. The love bombing sounds like. My husband and I had an open relationship at the time that this new guy and her met. The terms of the involvement were at first limited, and although the new guy exerted a pleasant pressure against these limitations, ultimately they suited him. I was the one who violated the terms, rather, by finding it intolerable to care that much in that way. For one person while being married to another, I could not disambiguate sex from love or love from devotion, futurity, family, integrations, things I wanted from the new guy, even as throughout the year and a half we were together, seeing each other, he continued to gesture into his incapacity to commit as if it were a separate being. An unfortunate child who followed and relied upon maybe a physical constraint. I stood there reaching for him while he sad-faced back at me like a boxed mine. He couldn't talk about it. He wished things were different. Maybe someday the child would mature, the glass would break, but for now, there was really nothing to be done. And she says there were so many routes to the species of disappointment I'm circling here, but however we get there, the Academy is weighing in. We now have a fancy word, heteropessimism, to describe the outlook of straight women fed up with the mating of behavior of men. This is coined by the sexuality scholar Asa Saracen, later amending it to heterofatalism, saying at first glance to distill a mood that is no less timely for being timeless. Now, they talk to another author in her memoir, Fierce Attachments, Vivian Gornick, describing the anguish of being ignored by a lover to her female friend, saying, quote, what I couldn't absorb was his plunging us back into the cruelty of old-fashioned man-woman stuff, turning me into a woman who waits for a phone call that never comes, and himself into the man who must avoid the woman who is waiting. You have the whole thing where women don't want us to go ahead and be so approachable and easy. The hard-to-get thing, the dating game. We've always been taught to go ahead and do this. Well, guys are not smart enough for the most part to go ahead and understand psychology or to understand what your coding is saying, what your nonverbal communication is saying. Okay? That's one thing you got to go and pay attention to is the fact that guys don't pay attention to that. They've always never been good at that. But you have to learn. And you only learn by experience, by trial and error. And not a lot of guys are out there that these young ladies are talking about that have been out in many relationships because they're few and far between now. There's not that many anymore. Okay? And so guys don't have the experience to go and say, okay, well, when I had this relationship, this was something I shouldn't have done. I need to do better at that. Right? You don't date anymore. And if guys don't date, they don't get to learn. So there's a problem with that too. This writer says that if the experts say my romantic letdowns have some larger social significance, I'm not going to argue. The men I want are not wanting me badly enough, not communicating with me clearly enough, not devoting themselves to me. Because that's supposed to be cringe. Women have told us if we get so needy and clingy, that is cringe. That is simp behavior. You don't want that. This woman says she does. Well, what is she saying then? Goes on to say that the petulantly proud masculinist subcultures have arisen as reactions to these pessimisms keep causing up new reasons to fear, rage against, and complain about men. But those men are the men my friends and I are feeling bleak about. It's the sweet good ones, damn it. Yeah. When we're not being honest with ourselves, we're not being authentic and real. I get it. And that was one of the things I can understand for some guys that have not been in that many relationships. Maybe they just have the sexual conquest and that's it, but no relationships whatsoever to go ahead and speak about. I can understand that part because the part was I never got that many relationships at all. So I was the sweet good ones. And you can't be that. You can offer to be that once you're in the relationship, but to be that at the beginning and hopefully thinking that's going to go ahead and land a girl, that might be, but then she's also not going to stay. And that's also just going to go ahead and just rub off the wrong way. It will. If you just can't be yourself. And for me, that was a lesson it took forever to learn. Forever. And I wish I would have learned it sooner, but I didn't. That's okay. So I have this program to talk about it. More on this story. Men's struggle to communicate in romantic relationships is widespread enough to have earned a psychological designation, normative male Alexithymia. What? The condition of being unable to put words to emotions. And there's an expert here, L. Anderson, saying that it often forces women who date men to become relationship maintenance experts. Solidifying what she cites as the most common communication pattern among heterosexual dating couples, the female demand male withdrawal pattern. Woman approaches man to discuss something, man removes himself. On the bed, The female demand, male withdrawal pattern pulses with sensuality. In life, it sometimes feels like it will drive me out of my senses. It creates work, tough, tragic female work. Or emotional labor, they would say it calls. But then L. Anderson gives a new term, emotional labor, that the women and what the work they have to do to interpret mystifying male cues, hermeneutic labor, as she posits as a form of gendered exploitation in intimate relationships. The guy dating my friend may have been too busy luring to confirm his plans with her, but meanwhile, Anderson might say, my friend was working 2 jobs, one to earn her living, one as the sole manager of an emotional entanglement that was also his. Well, women, sometimes, I mean, do you realize who you're picking, who you're choosing to go and be with, and why? I mean, is it just for vanity? Is it just for status? Like, what is it that you're looking for? You know, I mean, when you see people that get married, you ever notice it's never always the most attractive person they've ever been with? It's always the best person they've ever been with, period. That looks above average, probably. But for more than likely, it's always going to be something more tangible. And then women that decide just, okay, you're going to try to give a chance to somebody, and then they just don't, they're just completely in it. Well, when this lady right here in this article about the trouble with wanting men, the guy also that you're probably choosing might just want to just go ahead and, crack. So the phrase I've heard from some guy on TikTok I follow all the time. He always talk about, having sex, crack. So the thing is that guys probably just want to go ahead and fool around. The ones that you're probably dealing with in this particular situation. And you're trying to go and get more out of it, but you're not. Calling it a gendered exploitation in intimate relationships. But, it's like, there's not a lot of benefit for guys to be in relationships right now if they know they have to go through the whole process of going, basically paying the way to get to know somebody. Because you just can't get to know somebody in just a traditional sense. There has to be so many different things that are going on. Is that an anxiety for women? Like, so we can always turn this away the other way around, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying that women don't need to be caught in this whole thing of being said, oh, well, you have a boyfriend, that's an ick. That's cringeworthy. Because women are telling you that? No, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. Because they're not happy, okay? So you can let them go ahead and be unhappy all they want. You can keep your boyfriend. You could do what you want with them. You can let them be single, modern, independent, and they could also be depraved and debaucherous.